And we are back. Everyday Table is a food company transforming the food system to make fresh, nutritious food accessible to everyone, everywhere. The company is forging a new path forward in the food equity space through our new health partnership, NYC Health. And joining me now is the CEO of Everyday Table, Sam Polk. And Sam, glad to have you with us.
Hey, thanks for having me. Good to be
Obviously, a
here.
great time for you, and really the work is going on, and you're really, transforming the food system here, trying to make food fresh and then nutritious, and it's a great work. But talk to me about what got you inspired in this.
Actually, the civil rights movement. I was in a past life was a hedge fund trader until I picked up a book by Taylor Branch about Martin Luther King and the civil rights movement, and was so inspired by the work going on there that decided that I wanted to find a way to make a contribution. And then, cut to a year later, I've left Wall Street, and my wife and I sit down and watch a bunch of Netflix food documentaries. And one really sort of started talking about this idea of food deserts and food inequality. And to me, it was just this simple idea that, healthy food shouldn't be a luxury product. It should be accessible and affordable for everyone.
When you think about it, there are a lot of food deserts, particularly, and it's hard to believe. I mean, let's really get at it. I mean, when you think about being in the inner city, to think that there's so many places where there are actually food deserts and they actually exist. But we know the benefits of having food is that, from a perspective, food is medicine. I'll throw the word out there. Food is medicine. How do you answer that?
Well, I think that's 100% true. And the whole sort of like industry, the healthcare industry and government is really getting behind that idea. The other side of it is that food or fake food can be poison. And, you know, the other thing I will say is that people talk a lot about food deserts, but I almost think about it the other way, that there's really affluent communities where, there's a Whole Food and a Sweet Green and 10 different, places that are selling salads. But most other communities, not only inner cities and technically food deserts, but also sort of middle income areas that just can't afford to pay $18 for a salad on a regular basis, there's not many options there either.
Yeah, and you really say, listen, what can I do? And you're doing something about it. I mean, you've actually got some skin in the game here. And when you talk about the skin in the game, you've actually got a storefront that's going up, and it's right there by Jacoby. You got some healthcare workers and things of that nature. Somebody's gonna ask the question, why would you put a storefront up right there?
Oh, well, I mean, Jacoby is, first of all, this is our 70th store, roughly. We have about, 60 in Southern California and then around 10 in New York City. And two of those are, and soon to be five, are in major hospitals. And the one we're talking about is in the Jacoby Healthcare Center in the Bronx. And if you think about a hospital in the Bronx, it's sort of exactly what I'm talking about, where not a lot of a ton of healthy food options in the incredibly vibrant, amazing community that the Bronx is. And then also in the hospital, you've got a whole big cross section of people. You've got doctors that may be making six figures, but you've got a lot of people that are, staff that are making, $20 an hour, 30 bucks, and then also patients. And for all of them, Every Table is providing, first of all, incredible food. Like, that's the thing that I would love for you to try it someday. It's like, it is really good. It all starts with that. And then you look at it and you say, and this thing costs $6. This meal costs $7. It's kind of mind blowing.
Yeah, I'm on my way. Don't worry, I'm on my way. Trust me. But what I want to get at is that you have this great pricing model, which really, when we look at society, the struggle sometimes is not just the accessible food, but that it's also the price point. But you're really dealing with that. So talk to us about how you were able to do that, and why is it so hard for other people to do that?
Well, because it's really hard. I mean, that's the basic thing. Like, the way we make our food incredibly low price while having the highest quality ingredients and the best chefs making it is that we centralize production. So instead of having kitchens in every single store, we have a single kitchen, and there's one in Brooklyn and there's one in Los Angeles. And at this kitchen, we're using automation and incredibly efficient operations to make from scratch fresh, healthy, delicious meals and then package them in grab and go containers. So then when you walk into the store, it's sort of like a Pret. You know, you walk in, everything's pre-made, made fresh that day, and you just grab it and we'll heat it up for you, or it's a salad or a wrap and you just take it to go.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, we also vary our prices so that we provide value to everybody. But if we've got a store like we do in New York, we've got a store in Chelsea. So that's like a, you know, more affluent community. We're selling meals for $8, but then we've got stores in Harlem and Flatbush and, you know, and the Bronx, and we're selling the same meals for $6 or $7. And that's not, to be clear, about charity. That's because those stores are very profitable. It's about making it affordable and accessible for everyone and bringing value to everyone. But truth is, value in Chelsea is a little bit different than what it looks like in the Bronx.
You know, you do a great job, if you will, of marrying community and culture and then menu. And I mean, that's intentional. Talk to me about the intentionality in those areas, because you're taking community, culture, menu, and you're fusing it together, and it's having great results.
Well, you know, it's funny, when we started raising money for this, people would say like, you can't just bring in, healthy food and expect people to eat it. And I said, and we were saying, I don't know what you think that healthy food is, but we're not bringing like a celery and iceberg lettuce, salad. Like, we're talking about like Jamaican jerk chicken with coconut beans and rice and, a chicken shawarma that is out of this world. Like, real food that celebrates the cultures and communities that we are becoming a part of. And that's, for us, is the idea where it's like, healthy food, what we think of as healthy food, it should just be like real food that your grandmother would have recognized as food. And we'll just make that from all these different communities across LA and New York.
You know, it seems so easy, but the reality is it's hard work, and you're really doing the hard work. When we see the results, obviously somebody's out there saying, "This sounds great. I need it in my backyard." What about expansion? Where are we going from here?
I mean, look, our goal is to become the largest food company in the country and redefine the food landscape like McDonald's did. And that sounds about that in the 60s. There was no McDonald's. Like, what we think of as normal has just been a development over time. And I think that as a country, all of us are coming to understand that the food system and how it's changed has helped us in a lot of ways. Like, food is now affordable and it's convenient and it's delicious, but for the most part it's also fatal. And so if we can figure out a model, which we have, to make food that is affordable and delicious and convenient and also healthy, that's going to change the world.
What has been your take on the response that you've gotten since? I mean, obviously we see the expansion, but really to have a dedicated storefront, to see people actually be able to come through the doors and take part. What's the response that you're hearing from people, particularly when we talk about food insecurity and food deserts, and then they find a place like yours?
Well, the thing is, I think the thing to understand is that, like, when we're talking about this now, we're talking about food insecurity and food deserts and business models. But when people walk into the store, what they care about is, I'm hungry. And no matter how cheap you make food, if I'm going to sell you a graham cracker with a piece of bologna on it, like, even at 25 cents, you're not psyched about it. But if it's amazing food, you're going to be excited. And so that's what, if you look at all our Yelp reviews, which are, above 4.5 stars across the board, across all stores, that's what people are talking about. They're like, this food is amazing. And then they'll get to the price and the convenience and the mission, but it's just, the food is really good.
Sam, I want you to know you've got my whole staff in here hungry. They're staying with us right now, but they're about to check out because they're all hungry right now. But I want to talk about how this can be replicated, right? Because the reality is that you're really filling a need, and this is a need that we really have here in our community, food deserts, insecurity, and you're able to really do that. Somebody's out there watching right now saying, listen, I just want to make an impact. How can somebody make an impact without replicating what you do? I mean, it's the greatest form of flattery, don't get me wrong. However, but what can you do to really, play our part in this?
Well, it's a really great question. And we really thought about that. And the way we thought about that has to do with franchising. And so, when we looked at franchising, we said, franchising is this great way to expand because you're utilizing the passion of entrepreneurs. They get to own their own business, and it's actually better capital wise for the company. But the problem with franchising is, like so many other industries, you have to have wealth to actually succeed in it. And we said, look, just like there's not a lot of healthy food in underserved communities, there's not a lot of opportunities for entrepreneurship if you don't have that cushion behind you. And so we've gone and raised, I think it's like $16 million now in a franchise fund where people come and work in our stores, they become store managers, then they become area managers, and when they're ready to take on a franchise, we take this capital that we've raised and lend them the money to be their own franchise. And so now you get the best of both worlds, which is this very efficient company that is going for big scale, but it's owned by people in the communities, who are trying to lift their communities up just as well as we are.
They say you got your finger on the pulse. You got your finger on the pulse, brother. Let me ask this, because you're at a place, though, where you honestly are being able to do two things. You can serve the underserved, which is part of what you want to do, but then also be a bridge in the affluent. And that isn't necessarily easy to do either.
Well, that's the thing is, like, we live in a deeply unequal world, and, Los Angeles, where I live, has neighborhoods that a certain kind of people grow, and neighborhoods that are very segregated, and certain other kinds of people go. And Everytable's core belief is that we're all connected and we're all inclusive and we're all, there's differences in cultures, but at the end of the day, we're all the same. And so our challenge as a business is, can we create a system that works for everyone, but also links everybody together? And that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah. I have a favorite saying: everybody sees the glory, but they don't know the story. Talk to me about the story of how you got here to this place where we all are giving you glory. Talk to us about the story, because it wasn't necessarily too easy.
Well, I mean, that's the thing is, like, I think the food business is hard. The fresh food business is harder, and then the fresh food business at below fast food prices is probably the hardest thing you can do in the food world, not to, talk our own book.
Right.
So it's been a grind, man. I mean, like, figuring out how to make incredibly delicious food is hard. Figuring out how to do it really efficiently is really hard. Figuring out logistics to get food from the commissary to our stores and to our customers. I mean, all of it has been, I've got a lot more gray hairs than when I started. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I can imagine. But when we talk about franchising, obviously the opportunity for entrepreneurship for some, right? And to be able to branch out on their own, this is huge, because you're not just giving consumers, the product per se, but you're also giving people the opportunity for entrepreneurship and to be able to start your own, your own business, which is sometimes hard, a very hard thing to do when it comes to food service. And we know that the longevity in this business isn't always there, but you got sustainability, man.
Well, I mean, I think that's the thing is, like, we talked about how we're bringing our customers together, but we've also brought a lot of different kinds of capital together. Like, we've raised money from pure venture capital who see this as the next McDonald's, and we've raised plenty of money from foundations who say, wait, you're going to bring healthy food in underserved communities and then also ownership opportunities. We want to be a part of that as well. And so I think Everytable is really a testament to, there are a lot of people that want to do good things in the world, and if you can get them together, you can create something pretty magical.
How do you get them together? That's the question that everybody wants to know. You kind of like cornered the market a little bit on getting them together. What's been the secret sauce for you?
I think it's just respect and humility on some level. Like, I guess I'm fortunate, and because I spent a lot of time on Wall Street, but also spent a lot of time in the nonprofit world, working in, South Los Angeles, which is a neighborhood where per capita income is $13,000 a year, and just, I mean, coming correct into neighborhoods, and that means, coming correct into Compton, but it also means coming correct into the venture capital worlds and the foundation worlds, and saying, what is your interest and how can we align those with ours?
Yeah. And so for people want to get connected and they want to find out more, or, listen, my community could benefit from you, what do they do and what's the criteria?
Well, I think first of all, they can visit everytable.com to learn more. If they're interested in the entrepreneurship program and the social equity franchise, they can just go apply for a job at an Everytable store because everybody has a shot to get into that program. And then if they want to ask me questions, they can email me at sam@everytable.com.
Yeah, it's been great talking to you, brother. I mean, really a great work. 2024 is coming up. I mean, obviously, you got some great thoughts ahead. Give us some insight into 2024, what you're looking to do.
Look, we're just going to keep growing and getting better. And by getting better, I mean making our food better and making our food cheaper. And the way we figure it is that if we can just keep making the food better and also cheaper, everything's going to work out.
Love you, brother, man. You're doing great work. Sam Polk, CEO, and we thank you so much for being with us.